Jade.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Rugby Scoop podcast. We are back. We are back. Jade Craig, Sunday afternoon, summertime in South Africa, Bloemfontein. How are you doing?
Doing good, Scoop. Doing good. We had a late night last night after that game, you know. They were doing good. Sure, spoiled yesterday with all of the ragas, eh? Spoiled all yesterday. I mean, it was so much rugby, so much to talk about. Looking forward.
Yeah, 100%. Plenty to talk about. Vickers has joined us as well. Griffin will not be available for today. Vickers, how are things? It's 8 p.m. over in China.
As the kids say, 6-7. No, everything is good, bro. Everything is good. I'm actually currently in Hong Kong. We've got a tournament this week, so...
Oh, yeah. Nice. Traveling man, I think. That's the new nickname for Vickers now, huh? Journeyman, the traveling man around the globe. Guys, we're not going to waste any time. There's lots to talk about, as Jade has said as well. There's plenty of rugby over the weekends. The autumn series has been fantastic. It has delivered all the goods throughout the past 2 weekends. Last week, we did not record. This week, we're jumping into it. I'm going to start with the news making headlines. Not a lot of it, but Rassie Erasmus, the negotiations for his long-term future as Springbok coach have been paused until the conclusion of the November tour. Vickers, do you think Rasta will go all the way till 2031?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll do the same as what he did after 2019. Maybe give someone else the reins and he just be in the background and stuff. But we don't know. But obviously, South Africa, you know, obviously with Rassie's success recently, I don't think South Africa will be looking elsewhere.
No, fair. Jade, you agree? The Bloemfontein greatest, Rassie Erasmus, should basically continue until 2031. And as Vuyo said, you know, maybe after 2027, he can be in the background. Maybe we see Mzwandile Stick taking over the reins, and then almost like a Jacques Ninaba, Rassie Erasmus situation. I mean, we saw them drinking together the other week, right? Listening to Opero.
Nah, Scoop, that's up to Rassie. Eh? It's up to Rassie. I think Rassie has the freedom and the respect from SA Rugby to decide what he wants to do, and they'll back his decision, you know. So I think he knows what he wants to do. He'll get a feel of where things are at the moment. Yeah. At the moment, I don't think he'll want to quit. I think he's on top of the world at the moment. Yeah. But I think he'll just need to decide, you know, I know what's best for him, you know. Is his health, is his mental state up for it, and then he'll make that decision. Eh?
Yeah, no, true. I think Vickers also alluded to this fact, I think a while back, regarding the mental state of being a head coach. You know, every week, right, it's got its own ups and downs, challenges. Every week there's something else that you need to be focused on. The temperature, and as Rassie always posts on his Twitter account as well, right, he always shows us his watch, monitoring his heart rate. It's a very intense situation to be in the box as a head coach as well. Joano Augustus, or Joano Augustus, as you guys would want to call him, believes that playing for Ulster in the URC will boost his Springbok chances. I want to touch on this, Jade, because since Jasper Wiese came back from the red card for the box forward pack has completely dominated everybody, including France last night. Looking at Ivan Roos, looking at Hanekom, looking at Augustus, I mean, who do you see now as an incumbent, as a person who's going to take over Jasper Wiese's number 8 jersey? It's obviously not going to happen in the next year or two, but after that, what happens?
Yeah, Jasper Wiese is still very young. I think he's about, what is he on, 28, 29, 27, 28. So I think he most probably has 2 World Cups in him. So I think I think, Augustus is Alexandro Trocchi, like we all know him. He's a like-for-like replacement to Jasper. So I think if you're looking at that aspect, he's a like-for-like replacement. Similar game plan, similar build. But yeah, for me, we'll have to see in 2 years' time how the dimension of it loose forwards change when you have somebody like Peter Steff that's gone, that might retire. Then you're going to need, you might need another out and out line out loose forward option at 7, at line side. But at the moment, Jasper has been playing outstanding. So I think Trocchi is a like for like player to Jasper. Might not be on his caliber in terms of ball carrying, in terms of hardness. He might need to work on a few things, but I think they're very similar players, in playing style and in playable. But if you're looking at Ulrich Low and Hanekom and even Roos, they give something else again, So it's all about that balance that Rassie wants in that loose trio, and I think he's stuck on his balance now. So I think he's fine in terms of having Peter Steff, at 7, and then, rotating with Kwacha, Eskom and Sia, and then Jasper, all of them, 3 of them, or the 4 of them, fighting for 2 positions. So I think that's where we are at the moment. But if there's a long-term injury to a guy like Jasper, I think Augustus really puts up his hand with his playing style and his build.
Yeah, fair enough. Because you also agree about João Augustus' chances now much better for him now that he plays for Ulster than when he was playing in England.
Yeah, look, I don't know. For me, it's like a 50-50 coin, because at the end of the day, look, he could have selected him even though he was playing for was it Leicester?
Saints.
Saints. Yeah. He could have still selected him. I mean, the guy was dominating. They were winning. They were dominating the English league. So there was no reason why not to select him. I just feel like for players and coaches, whoever lives, if you leave South Africa in terms of to better your career, if you were overlooked when you were in the country and you leave, I feel like it just hampers your chances of coming back and getting back into it. And it's sad, but it is true, because if you look at a player like Serfontein at some point, he was the best center we had in South Africa. And look where he is now. He just came back to the Bulls. He's in the same age as Cheslins. He's in the 31. He's lost so many years without playing for this Bok jersey. Yeah. So for me, I think I hate to say it, but I think for me, his time is done. I don't think, because if you look at now, a guy like Hanekom was younger. You look at a guy like Evan Ross was younger, and Rassie spoke about Evan Ross back in I think it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, about his selection. He clearly doesn't. He clearly doesn't have something against him. I don't think he would go out and say that in the news and then backtrack again and invite a guy like Augustus. So for me, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, Scoop. I think
it's a tough one.
I think he's out. It's a tough one. If it was him, actually, I would have actually stayed in England and just try to qualify for the English league. of course, he's got guys like is it Underhill, and he's got who's the 8th man. So it's a tough one for him.
Yeah,
maybe now he can qualify for Ireland. Who knows?
Chocky. Anyway, right, we'll leave it there with the news, guys. I think let's cut to the chase and jump on the France versus Springboks. Maybe Vickers, you can take us away on this one. First things first, Siya Kolisi, 100th test cap for the Springboks. I mean, back in 2012, 2013, when he made his debut against Scotland, would you have thought from that day that Usiya, we would see him play 100 test matches for the Springboks?
100%. From that day, from the first test match that he played, I would have definitely said this guy is going to be in the Springbok jersey for the longest time.
Wow.
Not as the captain, but as a player. But now, when you include the captaincy into it, it's just incredible. It's just incredible, because I remember, if you remember, Scoop, was it France? Sia broke the line and stepped the fullback, and then he died.
Oh, yes.
if you think about that
In
moment,
SA,
you
actually.
think as a as a lighty. If you think as a lighty, as a blackie lighty who's just stamping his foot into the Bok jersey, and you're doing such things at that age, it's incredible. It reminds you of what's Bobby Skinstad. Bobby Skinstad's moment.
Ah, yes.
Because Bobby had a couple of those. So, I think for me, I'm just so overwhelmed and humbled that a kid that I met in 2010 just wanting to play rugby at 2025 has got his 100 cap. And especially for us as a country, having him at the helmet and getting his 100, if I'm not mistaken, he should be the first black player, isn't it?
Well,
African
if we,
black.
if we count
African
Beast,
black, Beast. Okay, Beast as well. So so for me, I think it's incredible. It's incredible, Scoop. I would really the occasion with winning against France by that kind of way.
Yeah,
it just stamped in everything to say that this kid is just good. He's just special, man. I love it. I love it for him. I love it for his kids. Because imagine now his kids are going to be even at school. I mean, probably tomorrow is going to be a massive day at school for his kids. So it's those kind of things that inspire our children to be better.
They're in France. They're not even going to go to. They're not even going to come to South Africa.
School.
No school for them on Monday. They've already sent the letter.
Nah, but it's good, man. No, I was really happy for Sia. I think it was really a special moment, especially for Black South Africans.
Fantastic, man. Jade, your thoughts on Sia's 100?
Look, I mean, we're all familiar with his story, and I mean, it's well documented. I mean, where he comes from, like you spoke about, the inspiration that he has to, Black and underprivileged South Africans, writers throughout the country. He was extending, over the borders in South Africa, deep into Africa as well. He's a popular figure. I think he's an ambassador for the game. He's to play 100 test match for South Africa takes some doing, put you up there with the greatest, whether he is the greatest, open side, I would say, he played 100 test matches, and for what he did, I definitely put him up there, in terms of all time, in the Bok jersey. So he's really kudos to this man. I mean, he keeps on doing it. I mean, yesterday, it didn't go according to plan. It was set up for him, to really be at the end on the field, the way Rassie had his selection and everything. However, he went off afterwards, red card, and then he was the one sacrificed. And the way he was cheering up that team, from the sideline, the way he was vocal, getting in there, was actually like reminded me of, an animated football coach on the side, something. I think it was Cristiano Ronaldo, they did it in the European Championship final a few years ago, when he got injured and he cheered up his team and he won them the game from the sideline. I mean, that was just Sia yesterday. He loved every minute. He was there for the team. In Peter Steph's ear, I think it was a few times he had a few things to say on the walkie-talkie as well. So for me, that's Sia Kolisi, a real inspiration, in South Africa. What happens off the field, everybody has their personal lifestyle and everything. And the way he shies away from it, the way he still rises to the occasion, it's really, it shows you though that I know where this guy comes from, how humble he is. So yeah, a true great world sport. I wouldn't just say in rugby, in world sport, he's one of the greats.
No, 100%. I mean, from dusty fields of Zweden, guys, to the grander stages of world rugby, to be honest, I think Sia Kolisi's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. It's a story about resilience, humility, heart. He embodies, what it means to lead with purpose, to be honest. The challenges that he's faced in his life to be where he is today. He's worn that green and gold jersey with pride, to be honest, and he's really inspired a nation, to be honest. And there's a lot of people that have converted from All Black supporters, right, to being Springbok supporters because of him. Jeepers, uniting people through his strength, compassion, unwavering belief, to show people what's possible out there. Yesterday, I think, marked a very significant period in South African rugby and in the world. We celebrate a symbol of hope, a beacon of leadership, and the power of dreams realized through hard work and faith. I think this was a fantastic occasion, momentous occasion for South African rugby. Rassie Erasmus as well, and what he's done with Sia, the path that they've, or the road that they've traveled, I mean, has been nothing short of significant, to be honest. And man, we truly celebrate Sia Kolisi on his 100th cap. And long may this continue. And now, gentlemen, jumping into the real stuff, because the real things now. France have been talked up for months on end, for years in this side of the decade, about how powerful their forward pack is, about how they were supposed to win the World Cup. There's been lots of talk from your Lukus talking about a stolen World Cup by the Springboks, and the Springboks had a point to prove. We had Rassie Erasmus naming, obviously the team was leaked, whatever, but he named the French lineup age, caps, what else was it? Was it age, caps, and minutes they played, or something along those lines?
Weight.
Weight. Yes, the weight. And man, it looked pretty much on the balance. Once Rassie also put up the Springbok lineup as well, lining up against each other. And there was a few players from the French forward pack that had maybe one or two caps under their belt. So not really experienced. But nonetheless, the French team had their forward pack. They had a heavy forward pack that they selected, and they wanted to bulldoze their way into winning this match in Stade de France. But it was not to be. The Springboks stood up against that pack, and they looked tired, the French team, after 55, 60th minute, and they couldn't find a way back. They only scored 3 points in the second half. 3 points at home in the second half. But Vickers, when you watch that game, I mean, what could you make of it? France started like a house on fire, but then after that, they seemed to deteriorate. The longer the game went on, the weaker they got, the slower they got, and they had less impact from the bench coming on to help them. Talk to me, Vickers.
Yeah, so I think, look, when you look at the approach to this game, you had two teams with different approach. In fact, in different approaches first half and different approach second half. First half, France went in thinking that it's another, I'm going to call it a club game, because test matches, you don't approach the way they did. And if you notice, South Africa approached it very differently. South Africa approached it as a test match. They were taking the points on offer. They were making sure they're keeping the game simple, kicking contestables, contesting. Those were the things that they were doing, and which is why the score was not getting away from them, if I can call it like that.
Yeah.
Whereas France came in like a house on fire, trying to score all quick tries and do all the flashy things.
Yeah.
And
top 14.
Yeah, and you know, they felt, I think they must have felt they're getting ascendancy, because all of a sudden they got 2 quick tries and they were looking comfortable. And the only thing South Africa was doing was knocking over penalties. So until obviously the Reinach try, after I think Kobe scored when the score was 14-6.
Yeah.
I think he scored to make it 14-13 going into a halftime. So I think in terms of that was an individual try from Reinach. And also, like I said, the way South Africa approached the game was very simple. It was test match level type. And if you notice, Goop, that is why whenever they were getting the quick ball in the middle rucks, they were sweeping back to the blind side, because they were hoping to get the penalty, because the forwards of the French team were very slow getting back. Yeah. So that was the plan. if we get over the advantage line, sweep back to the blind side, and if we can milk a penalty, we take poles. So that's simple rugby, and that is test match rugby. And now, if you go into the second half, I think where France lost it, that first 15 minutes, I'll call it 12 minutes. Let's go 12 minutes. They threw everything. They threw everything at the box. And the only thing the box were doing is tackling. And when those two knock-ons came, I think one from on the line break of BRA, he threw an offload and it was a knock. And then I think there was another one exactly similar, but there was BRA was on the outside. They didn't pass to him. I think it was Fiku who didn't pass to him. They got the ball back on the inside and then they knocked it on the inside. That was before the 52nd minute. Had they scored there, I think they would have stretched a little bit away from the box. But the problem is that they didn't score. And like I said, the 12 minutes, and something just clicked for the box. And as soon as Manelibo came onto the field, he had more control. He kicked it. He tried to kick in the right areas. Some contestables were charged down, not great. But the good thing is that they were getting the penalties, and there were penalties. They were kicking to the corners. Now the second half was different approach from the box. The box realized that, you know what, we have 14 men. We've got nothing to lose. Let's go. And I mean, again, the way the selection was selected, they made sure that they have enough cover in the forwards. And how brilliant was Nokia coming on, obviously for C at halftime, but how he handled those liners. I mean, those liners were smooth for the Springboks. They were pretty good.
Yeah.
So for me, I think, look, it's credit to the forwards for the hard work, grinding. And again, Sasha was man of the match, but I think you could have picked a couple of guys. Malcolm Marx.
I think Malcolm Marx was outstanding.
It was outstanding. Yeah, definitely. Look, again, it goes to show with the box, if you give them a sniff, they're gonna come for you. And I think that's what happened. I think that, especially Scoop, remember that they had that scrum. They missing a forward in the scrum, but they still decided to scrum.
The scrum, yeah.
They still sent Andre Estes into the backs. So in the end, they got the penalty. So it's just the small things that the box it's almost like what we call it. They look for the sniff.
Yeah.
And if they smell it, it's gone. And I think that's like the encouragement came from Sia when he was shouting from the sidelines. In terms of what is happening on the field, it just gave them more motivation. And for you to go bang against France in like that easy, because the two tries came very quickly after each other. And then from there, they just maintained and kept on working. And I mean, even when they could have taken a penalty to close the game, take more minutes off the game. They didn't. They keep for the touch. They keep for touch to try and stay in the French half.
Yeah.
Yes, the yellow card didn't help him, but yeah, again, I think when we look at this game, I think we'll say it was almost another rugby championship
masterclass
in Wellington.
Masterclass, Jade.
Yeah, 100%.
France were leading the game for 61 minutes. 61 minutes, 3/4 of this game, France were leading, and after 61 minutes, their forward pack was huffing and puffing. And the Springboks noted and saw this. Sia was even screaming, they tired, go again. Picking a heavy pack that is not fit. What do we make of Galtier's decisions here? Compare this pack to the pack that traveled to New Zealand, who looked quite fit and could hold the All Blacks in that first test for a good 80 minutes. It was a good game. And then second test, obviously, in Wellington, All Blacks put them away. And then third test, All Blacks kind of struggled for, 55 minutes, but still put this team away as well. But with the tactics that Galtier uses, choosing big boys, heavy bodies, but then these heavy bodies cannot handle a full 80 minutes. What is this tactic?
Yeah, and also to add to that, Scoop, the timing of his substitutions as well. I mean, we know Gautier, he's done it. Emmanuel Mufua, and then what's it, Roman? What's the guy's name? Taufanua. They're the two big boys, 150 kgs. I mean, you can always throw Picasso, Tito Alagi in there as well. He always has one of those kind of locks on the field, become accustomed to in French rugby. They have a big, big, big lock, You've even seen Skelton at La Rochelle as well. And these guys go for about 50 minutes or 45 minutes and then he makes the change. But his bench gave him absolutely nothing yesterday. He went with a 6-2 split. But even though the Boks played with one forward short, for what was it, 50 minutes or so, the French back couldn't get any change in that second half. After that, Vuyo said, that 20 minutes, 15 minutes in the second half where they were all over the box and they got no outcome, they got no positive result on the scoreboard. I think, that was really a dagger blow to the French team. When I go back and I always look at it, you look at the decision that was made as well. I think Fico was still on the field and he was captain on the night. But in the box, the whole game, the whole second half, and you're playing with a one-man advantage, why do you take the 3 points when you have them under the pump? Why not go kick to the line and try and score a try? Try and score a try, and that was a game-changing decision that he made there. There was also a time in thinking 2023 as well, when France had the opportunity also, to go to the line and score another try. And then they went for points and it ended up costing them against the Boks as well. And it's a similar thing to what they did in 2023 when they played Scotland. And Scotland was also down to 14 men, not going, not smelling blood, not taking advantage. When you look at what the Boks did yesterday, the Boks smelled blood. They saw there was a momentum shift in the game. There was guys like Peter Steph, Malcolm Marks, feeling and could say, listen, we're making inroads with our carries. We feeling the positive. We're winning the collision battle. Even though we're playing with 14 men, let's chance our luck. Let's go for it. If the Boks hadn't to score there, also we could say, okay, well, why didn't they take the 3 points? But that was just a feeling they had in the game. I don't think the French forwards had that feeling, Scoop. I don't think they had that experience as well, and that feeling to know, what to do in certain situations. For me, there was a period in the game as well. I mean, Sasha got man of the match, but I don't think he was that great yesterday. Where in space of 5 minutes, Sasha just kicked the pointers up and unders. Just kicked the ball away. France not reading this, kicking the ball straight back at them, That's just certain situations in the game where you've got to realize, hey, now they are like this. In the next 10 minutes, we got to smell blood. If you're looking at the teams that's beaten the Boks this year, and there's that period of 10 to 15 minutes where Australia took the game away from them, where the Boks were flat and Australia capitalized. The same with New Zealand. When at Eden Park, the Boks started flat, New Zealand capitalized on it, took what was the 14-point lead in the first 20 minutes or so. So that is what you're going to have to do against this champion team like the Boks. You're going to have to, when you got them under the pump, you're going to have to put pressure on them. You are not going to beat the Boks just by kicking penalties. You're going to have to go and score tries against them. And I don't think the French had that recipe yesterday. I don't think Gautier gets the best out of these players. It felt for me yesterday, Scoop, and I said it on the group, it felt for me like some of these players were too scared to get injured, so they wouldn't go back to their clubs. They were too scared to get
Well, it's very important for them to blame me.
These guys are different beasts when they're playing for their clubs. I mean, I look at the tight end that came on, this Dorian, what's his name, Aldereri. He's not that bad. And then they get a scrum on their ball in the Boks half, and this was actually one of the changing points in the game. On this their ball, and Angus Gardner warns him and says, listen, stay square up, stay square up. And then he collapses on his ball. He collapses. Now, all you have to do is stay square. They get the ball there. They're in the boxes off and they play from there. What happened from there? What happened? Boss got the ball, kicked the ball into French 22, piggybacked another penalty, didn't take the line, and then kicked the 5-meter line up, and from there, the game over. Mm-hmm. French is under the pump. It's such a certain situations where you need players on the field. Now, if I'm looking at this French team, and I've got my opinion on French rugby, and I'm looking how far they are from, let's say, their first choice team. And you're looking at guys that wasn't there yesterday. Obviously, you need DuPont is a notable one. But a guy like Gregory Aldrit, wouldn't they have made better decisions on the field if he was there? You know, you're looking at Romar that wasn't there. I mean, even Ntamak, they played at 10. He surely is experienced now. All of it, everything and all his success he has it to lose. But for me, he's still playing within himself. You know, for me, Thomas Ramos controls that game more than him.
Yeah.
And he's the first five. So I'm thinking, wouldn't the guy you always raves about this guy, but Jalibé, wouldn't he be better at
10?
At 10.
Yeah.
I know they must Mofana at 12 and they must Movaka at 2 because they're the two dynamic players. But still, I mean, this French team, it's the second time in 2 years where they've lost against a team playing with 14 men, where the team got a red card and they lost against them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And also, how are they prepared for this game? The Boks played a lot of rugby. I don't think this French team was prepared for this game at all. I think they thought they would just come in and put a team on paper, and just turn up for the game.
When you're playing against
arguably you're playing against one of, the greatest or the best Springbok team of all time.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to give this team respect, So, yeah, I think for me, Scoop, certain situations, certain players, they just step up and as a group, they make decisions. And at the moment, there's this Bok group, there's the leadership group, Malcolm Marx, the likes of Peter Steptoe, Sia, Ebenif on the field, all of them with their fly-offs as well, makes crucial decisions, getting the right decisions at the right time. They get a feel of the game, they experience, they know what to do, and they just get it right, Last thing before I give it back to Rio, but remember last year, Allblacks played against France. And what happened was they were down, they were leading, France was leading by 4 points. 6 minutes left, Scott Barrett gets a penalty, he kicks to poles instead of going for the corner. Now, those are the situations, the difference between the Boks that's winning championships and teams like that, where the Boks smell blood and they make collective decisions within their leadership team. And that's where the Boks are now outstanding at the moment. They smell blood, they back themselves, and they're executing at the moment.
No, 100%, 110%. But now the talking point of this game, we talk about 14 men, Springboks. There's a lot of debate from a lot of people because of the whole 20-minute red card situation, but the Boks still came out and won the game regardless of this aspect. But Jade, from your side, Lord Diaga, red card, your thoughts on this with the tucked arm and obviously leading with the shoulder on the head shoulder contact, basically highly dangerous, high degree of danger, and pretty much no mitigation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I get Angus Gardner's reasoning. For me, I was surprised. I thought it would be sent to the bunker. I get his reasoning. I might just get again slated for this by social media, but I get his reasoning because if you're looking at it, Scoop, it was Lord did he showed it was. I get his reasoning why he went that way. Although I was surprised. I thought, for me, I thought, okay, yes, the yellow is going to the bunker and it can be upgraded to a 20-minute red. But I mean, if you're looking at the law, I get where Angus Gardner is coming from this aspect, because it was, if he had wrapped, it would have been a yellow and mitigation of him dumping. But he went tucked on. It was a shoulder charge. I don't know if you from a coaching perspective, we'll differ from this, but that was just my opinion on it. I felt that I get where Angus Gardner's coming from with this, but I would have given it, sent it to the bunker.
Yeah, I think so. For me, first of all, it's a yellow card because the player is on his knees. And you can see Lord Diaga, for his height, how much he had to dip to even get that low. That's the first one. So he obviously didn't anticipate Ramos going onto his knees, which is why he dipped. And then, so that's my first mitigation. Yellow card. Yes, it's a rugby incident. It's not. It was not malicious. It was not. It might seem dangerous, like as if he tried to do it. No, it was not. So that's why I would have given yellow. Secondly, I'm not sure how many refs they do ask coaches about what we do in tackle technique. When we do tackle technique, we are trying to limit the number, the what we call swimming. So you, instead of flying your armpits out. So we talk about closing boxer stance. So part of boxer stance, when we do tackles, it's a shoulder, it's a shoulder followed by the wrap. It's not the wrap and the shoulder together. You stop the play and then you go with your wrap. So for me, when I looked at it, it looked like he was gonna hit, and then his arms was gonna follow, because that's what we're teaching players. Most players are being taught like that in terms of boxer stance. Not letting your armpits fly, your armpits out. Armpits must be closed, almost like we call it no swimming. So we call it no swimming, but boxer stance, so which means your armpits are tucked. So for me, that's what I looked at. I don't think, like I said, I don't think he would have been going a shoulder charge to try and charge. Because remember, also, if we remember properly, he when he hit him, you could see that as soon as his shoulder went in, his hand starts to move towards the body, which was that the rep was going to come. So I would have gone with the yellow card. And like I said, I don't think the refs do ask questions, coaches, about tackle technique, what we do in tackle techniques, what are we looking for from the players' perspective. So I don't think he would know that, but as a coach sitting on the telly watching it, I would have gone yellow card straight away.
Yeah, interesting, because very, very interesting. I mean, I could see Angus Gardner with Mika, and I think it's Christoph, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he was kind of influenced by his assistant referees, because at first I think Angus was pretty keen on going for a yellow and referring it to the bunker, and you could see the assistant referee him negotiating with the assistant referees in that situation. I mean, you make a valid point. I can see where you're coming from, because obviously Ramos was being tackled in that situation, and obviously now considering Luat Diaga's height and having to dip, it's a long way down for him as a tall man. Understandable. Those are valid points to be made if they are to argue this situation for at least some mitigation regarding this, because already he was dipping. He was already in momentum while Ramos was still on his feet at the time. Right, by the time he got onto his knees, it was already. I mean, when they played the full speed replay, and you could see that the momentum and the movement was too dynamic in that situation. But if I was also an official on this in that game, I probably also would have leaned for a red, because of just the action and how it looks. But then obviously upon review, it becomes a different story, because now you can either watch it in slow motion, you can either repeat it a few times, but during game time, I mean, even Angus didn't see this as a situation, right? Until someone went to Angus's ear and said, "Hey, there was a shoulder charge," because also Ramos putting his hands on his head. He didn't go for an HIA. He laid there for a bit. And obviously, we know French directors, they always have foul play on replay, or foul play in their pockets to keep anything from all opponents. They watch everything from all their opponents, and obviously they always have the footage ready when opponents are infringing and making illegal hits in a game as well. But yeah, you make valid points there, because.
Sorry, Scoop. That's actually another interesting point that we talk about. I think I sent it in the group a few weeks back, or a month back, that if a player gets red carded for a dangerous tackle, high level of danger, but the player that was tackled doesn't leave the field for an HIA, then what are we doing? It should be mandatory. It should be mandatory, because you're saying high level of danger, no mitigation, red card. So you should be obviously saying as well to the player that's been tackled, you have been tackled by this. Yeah, go off. Go for an HIA. It should come standard.
No, fair. I mean, if we all agreeing that it's high level of degree of danger, then definitely you need to be off the park. to be assessed. But he didn't go off the park. He continued to play for another 60 minutes. He played the full game at fullback. So yeah, it is a valid point. It is definitely a valid point. And then looking at players who stood out before we jump onto the All Blacks and Scotland. For you, Vickers, who's the player that stood out? I know Sasha won the player of the match, but yeah, I mean, if you had to rate anyone on that park for those 80 minutes.
I think I would really look at Marx. I think we all agree in agreement that Marx was excellent. I also give it to Nokia. I think he was also not too bad. And even actually, when Grant came on, he wasn't bad. I thought Grant moved the ball nicely.
Yeah,
he really challenged the defense line of the French. And yeah, so for me, I think definitely Marx and Nokia.
Jade?
Me and Vuyo's going to actually swap here. I'm going to look more at the backs, because somebody like Kobus Reinach, that individual brilliance that he scored that try, the chip and chase, peeling off the pillars there and, spotting, playing heads up rugby.
Reminding you of Ricky Januar against the All Blacks.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, that was, and I mean, also his physicality he brought in scrum. He was very physical yesterday. He was in the French's face the whole game, It's like he was really up for it. And I think he was one. And then Manie Libbok, the change he made, the impact he had yesterday coming from the bench, the way he went, the way he spread the ball, he went wider, with Manie Libbok, guys, I don't know. Yeah, I'm in school actually. I want your opinion on this quickly before we go to the All Blacks, but Manie Libbok give me this Aaron Cruden vibe, remember when Cruden was in a successful All Black team? He wasn't always the number one, he wasn't always the best, but whenever he was on the field, the All Blacks always tend to win by more, there was more tries being scored, more creativity, the wingers got the ball more, and it's very similar with Manie Libbok, very, very, very similar.
Yeah.
I'm actually I'm getting on the Manie bandwagon now. I think he's brilliant from the bench. He's absolutely brilliant. He changed the game. It's not the first big game he's changed this year.
Yeah, no, true. I think obviously the coaches, I think when I was watching the game yesterday, I could see Sasha was not really getting those good pinpoint up and unders accurately. I think you also mentioned that earlier as well. And I thought maybe a bit of change at first five would kind of give the Boks a bit of ascendancy, because that backline wasn't motoring, if we were truly honest, when Sasha was on there. Maybe the pressure and the caliber of the game kind of took his toll a bit. Yes, they did take points. He did very well with his kicking. Some of those kicks were like 60 meters on an angle as well. It wasn't just straightforward. But then when Manie came on, there was a bit of a shift in ascendancy, and Manie and Grant Williams kind of shifted the pace of the game as well. Basically, the French were kind of in sixes and sevens when it came to defense. Manie got those cross kicks quite accurately now all of a sudden, and then the Boks were putting the ball behind the French forward pack, so which means that they had to turn and run back a lot during that second half. Yeah, it did change the game, Manie Libbok, if we're truly honest. And that forward pack, as you guys mentioned as well, with Ruan Nokia leading those lineouts, man, fuck, it was incredible. It was really, really incredible. And when Peter Steff was asked, what do you guys want to do? You've got a penalty here and you've got a penalty in front of the poles. It's like, yeah, we'll take the scrum again, right? And they knew, they could smell the blood, right? They could see the French forward pack was not really up for it. They could see the fear in the French forward pack's eyes. And they took advantage of that, That's what you need from a rugby perspective. If you see your team is under pressure, if you see the team that you're playing against has lost confidence, because a forward pack that sees and notices these things, you take advantage, and you don't remove your foot from the neck of your opponent. You keep it there, and you put them under the pump. You put pressure on them, and which is what the Springboks did throughout that last quarter of the game. Like I said, the French were leading for 61 minutes, guys. 61 minutes. And you still lost the game in the last quarter? Oh man, very, very, very disappointing. And obviously, it's a European pride of rugby because the French are supposedly the ones that beat everyone around the globe. This is their strongest period, the golden era, as they call it. And you could see that without a Dupont, without a game breaker, actually, they really are a clueless team when it comes to game plan because I could not see a significant game plan that the French came up with. They just wanted to bulldoze their way, but they couldn't get over the line when it mattered. They couldn't take the right decisions when it mattered. They had 5-man pods swinging the ball to the last man of the pod and then trying to throw a split pass at the back. And that was it. It was an easy defensive pattern for the Boks in that situation. They just had to run up and then drift across. And as soon as they drift across, the French did not have any idea on what to do next with the ball. So which means that their forward pack is just running between the 250-meter lines the whole freaking time. One side to the left, one side to the right. And then they just got tired because they couldn't break through that Springbok defense. Anyway, Jay, do you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, man, I just wanted to leave you in Vuyo with this. So yesterday, when the national anthems was being sung, I saw Rassie staying in the box, and he was the only one of his coaches in that box singing the South African national anthem, meaning that the rest of the coaches, were from overseas, was Felix Jones and Tony Brown from England and New Zealand, respectively. Now, if the best team in the world at the moment, and one of the most successful coaches in the world at the moment, has the courage and guts, to get coaches from the outside and to get knowledge and IP, from the likes of England and New Zealand, etc. Why doesn't Gautier do it when he's coaching a team that's playing in a club where there's multiple coaches, from different nationalities? Maybe that's the downfall that Gautier should do and should look at, something that Gautier should look at.
Don't they have that Welsh guy there?
He's only the one Welsh guy, and the rest of them are all French, And I'm really thinking with the amount of IP going around, and this can be a message to the rest of the world as well, in New Zealand, England, everywhere. I mean, if Rassie Rasmus has a guy from England, 2 guys from England, he has a guy from New Zealand in his backroom staff, we're helping him, and, he's relying on them. But you're getting other nations that are so stubborn and sticking to their only New Zealand, only France, etc., etc., etc. Maybe that's one of the downfalls, and maybe something we can learn from Rassie Rasmus.
No, fair. On that note, Scotland and the All Blacks. Oh man, I'll jump in here quickly, Jade, because wow. So watching that first half, I'm so disappointed in Nick Berry, man. Really, 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 and truly disappointed. All Blacks had a bit of ascendancy in that first half. They were pretty much in charge and in control of that first quarter, and putting Scotland under the pump a few times in their own 22. And there was like a period where there was multiple penalties. Scotland were under pressure, and Nick Berry goes to Sione Tuipolotu. He says, "Oh yeah, what? If you guys infringe one more time, someone is going off, right?" So they get out of jail in that situation. We play for another 2 minutes outside of the Scottish 22. And then 2 minutes later, New Zealand are back inside the Scottish 22. Scotland infringe again. And there was no yellow card in that situation. And I think that, for me, kind of changed the dynamic of the game. And then the All Blacks infringe once or twice, I think, in their own 22. And then it's immediate yellow card. I think it was Ardie Savea who was sent off as well. We can look at All Blacks and say, yeah, they're ill-disciplined, but I think there's also an influence played by the referee in this situation who really kind of let them off at one point. Then where is the balance, right? Because if he sent a Scottish guy off, All Blacks would have gotten more ascendancy, and probably with Scotland with one man short would have taken advantage of that. And the scoreline looks different, right? And by the time that guy comes back, the All Blacks have a significant scoreboard pressure where the game doesn't get so close as it did at one point, because then, I mean, he's kind of brought a team back into the game without having them having one person sent off. But nonetheless, without any of this yellow card business, I thought in general the All Black backline was not as fiery as I thought it would be, because we spoke about the Leicester Fayanganuku, we spoke about Quintupaya, all strength, 100%, but a few times, I mean, in the point of contact, they would make meters, but a few times in the point of contact, I thought they weren't controlling the ball enough. They would lose ball in contact, and then that stops the momentum. So they weren't gelling as I thought they would be. But a few moments like that for me kind of were disappointing to see. But yeah, I think the young guys, I mean, the positive from this game is the young guys like your Josh Lords, your Holland, your front row as well. I mean, the guys that were playing in the front row, obviously barring Cody Taylor. And you had a pretty young All Black team that was playing on Saturday against a pretty much seasoned Scotland side. This is a side that we always think has a chance of winning the Six Nations every year, but in true Scottish fashion, as soon as you hype them up as favourites, they're really going to disappoint you. Finn Russell, I don't know, actually. I mean, everyone has been hyping him as somebody who should be nominated for World Player of the Year. I don't really think he has stood out this season for me. Even in the Six Nations, yes, the one standout is probably the Australian tour with the British and Irish Lions. But I mean, after that, I mean, there's not really a performance for the ages in international rugby. Adi Savia, strong on defense once again. Sasha Feinberg, Mgomezulu, very good last night against Ntamak, who the French rate so well, or European fan base tend to think that he's one of the best, but I don't really. He hasn't really shone in since that injury. But all in all, we can talk about discipline. But I mean, I think for me personally, I think Nick Berry has blood on his hands regarding this aspect of the game. DMAC really has I don't know. He tends to play very good rugby when it's time to play up north. I don't know. Maybe he needs to change allegiance for a bit. But yeah, that's my overall take regarding the All Blacks. Jade, what did you think, or what did you see from yesterday?
I was a tad bit disappointed, that they allowed them back into the game. Similar aspects as well. I mean, kickoff receives. I mean, you're leading 17-0 at halftime, and you're playing with 14 men. What you want to do when you're receiving the ball, you want to receive the ball and you want to exit well. Now, if I'm looking at the way New Zealand sets up, and it's really something that bothers me regarding, Nick Evans and there's Brett Evans, and that's in charge of the lineouts and the forward aerial. He's the forward aerial coach, And I'm thinking of him. And I'm thinking of how they set up at kickoff time. They always look panicked when they're receiving the ball from kickoffs, and it's an issue going right down in New Zealand rugby. Lakai knocks the ball on immediately after Scotland gets a scrum advantage. Scotland, they play from there. Inevitably, they put the All Blacks on the back foot until about the 70th minute. The All Blacks never really, or 65th minute, the All Blacks never really got into the game in the second half, and that's disappointing because should the All Blacks have came out, exited well, scored first, they could have put 40 on Scotland. That's the way that the game go. Other than that, they went back and then they finished very, very strong. But looking at this team and you're looking at the positives from this All Black team, where can you look at? You're looking at 4 of the 8 forwards that played yesterday, or all still under the age of 23, 24. That's promising. That's really promising. You're looking at your 2 locks, you're looking at 2 guys in your loose forward team that's all still very young. And then you have guys on the bench as well. I mean, Darren Tamati Williams also quite young. If you look at the All Black team overall they played yesterday, it's only 3 players or 4 players, we add DMAC, that's over the age of 30. So 4 out of 23 is over the age of 30. So that means that they've got a young team and they're learning from situations like this. It could have went bad. They could have been the first All Black team to lose against Scotland. But they got through it. They finished strong yesterday. I think that last 15 minutes they really punched above their weight. Not say about the weight, but really put up their hand and they won the arm wrestle. It was out and out arm wrestle. The same thing they did last week against Ireland. So that's promising, That's promising. You're looking at guys like Peter Lakai, Josh Lord. I mean, Peter Lakai made 21 tackles yesterday for the 8th man. Josh Lord, 18 tackles. So that just shows you that these youngsters are putting in the work, and it's positive in terms of Razor moving forward with this team. Yes, the backline is still not firing. Maybe, there wasn't, the balance wasn't there yesterday. They really did miss Jordy Barrett yesterday. There's been a few occasions when the balls had just gone wide, maybe just extra drawing pass, fixing up one in the middle and then passing, but they forced everything. We saw Leicester and Quinto Pai getting white line fever a few times when the pass was there on the outside. So things like that they will really, really review going into their biggest game, of the tour against England the weekend, and the toughest game of this Grand Slam tour is against England this weekend. So for me, I think the All Blacks, okay performance again. Yes, there was negatives, discipline. Again, 3 yellow cards. You can't really do that in Test match rugby. But I wouldn't say they got out of jail. They won the game. They won the arm wrestle at the end. Scotland came out firing. The guts. 3 try-saving tackles. One from Cam Roygaard, one from Audi, and I can't remember who the other one as well. Just keeping the ball up the line. That's things that they can build on. But still, there is a lot of hard work to go. I think they can be a tad bit more dominant up front in terms of scrum time, in terms of the morning. I think they can do that much better. I think they tapered off since the French series and since the first Argentinian test. They really tapered off in terms of their pack dominance. I don't think they're showing it anymore. But next week, they're going to have to stand up against England. So for me, Scoop, players that stood out yesterday, like I said, Peter Lakai, Wallace Titi, guys like that put up their hand, the youngs putting up their hand. Again, there's still concerns and questions regarding Bowden. Damien McKenzie came on and had arguably one of his best games in the All Black jersey, albeit just for 20 minutes or so. He was brilliant yesterday. Got a 50-22 that changed the game. Kicked a 50-meter penalty, tough conditions, and scored a worldy of a try, how to score from that angle. It was just world-class moments. But yeah, Scotland, Gregor Townsend, I think this was their best chance to beat the All Blacks. They couldn't do it. I don't know if they'll beat the All Blacks, anytime soon. But yeah, for me, for Scotland, I'll be more disappointed if I was a Scottish supporter with them not winning the game yesterday, and for the All Black supporter, just barely scraping through against Scotland.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Vickers, did you get to see Poof, actually?
Yeah. No, I watched it. I actually even caught up now. Look, I think, Scoop, for me, yes, you guys have mentioned all the things that I was thinking as well in terms of scraping through, the discipline, the fight back. But what worries me against New Zealand is I'm not sure if you guys have picked it up, but New Zealand's defense isn't strong. As soon as the team keeps the ball and starts running at New Zealand, they tend to give meters, and when they give meters, they keep giving meters, and I think that's why we can credit them for holding Scotland up 2 times in the over the trial and even the try-saving tackle from Roygaard. So I mean, it's credit, but for me at this point, I think when I look at what we've always been saying about not playing too much footy between the 10s or New Zealand not playing too much footy and trying to get into the half, I think the coaching staff have realized that if they're not going to play rugby, that means that the other team has got the ball and then they have to defend. So maybe they've realized that they're not strong on defense, and now, because they're not strong on defense, if the other team keeps the ball, they're in trouble. Because there was a time where Scotland were just getting meters easily.
Coming around the corner.
Yes, easily. Yeah. Just dominating the advantage line. Easily. And New Zealand was going back and back and back and back. And that's why I think New Zealand had... because in that 17-0, they dominated position. And they dominated possession, and then they made sure that Scotland was making the tackles. And Scotland now was in trouble because their defense was not strong, especially even now after Finn Russell's knee injury. So when that started happening, and then they were leading by 17 points, and then Scotland came out in the second half, and they started dominating possession. So I think with New Zealand at the moment, they need to go and if they need to go get a Jacques Naba, like you guys spoke about, maybe expanding a little bit on overseas coaches, out barring and not only appointing New Zealand, maybe they need to go and explore on Jacques Naba. Maybe they can come in, bring him in for 4 years, and they must learn the structure and what is about stopping power, because a lot of Jacques Naba's philosophy is about stopping power. They want to stop the momentum. So, and I think that's where New Zealand now is not getting it right.
No, fair.
So for me, that's why I would think that it's a very good win based on the fact that of what had happened in the game. I would really credit them for this win and say, no, look, they stayed in the fight and they came out positively at the end. Like you guys have mentioned, Damien McKenzie changed the game a little bit. I wasn't also not impressed with like you said, Scoop, the centers. Jordan moving to wing, Damon going to fullback after Clark got injured.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really impressed as well with the backs. I think obviously they're still trying to find the right combinations of the backs. The forwards, we're starting to see a little bit of continuity with the forwards. So, and yesterday, I'm sure Ryan must have been pissed off to consider a more try against Scotland. And he didn't concede one against you. I didn't remember he conceded one against South Africa.
No.
I don't think he did. Yeah, so for him to go and concede one against Scotland, it must have made him very angry. Yeah, and I think, look, I think for me, I think you guys have nailed it on the head. And it wasn't a pretty game, especially I've played in Murrayfield, and I know when the Scots are up in Murrayfield, it becomes very. It's almost like I'd call it. It's almost like that French crowd when they start getting behind their team. So credit to New Zealand for winning the game, but
still lots of work.
One of those still lots of work. It's one of those group where win is a win. We'll take it and then move on.
It's international footy. Take those wins. But yeah, guys, looking now at Australia, Jade, what happened against Italy? Sounds like a Tutti moment that took place in Italy.
It's not the first time. It's not the first time it happens.
Wow.
It's not the first time.
Wow.
I don't know. I was watching the England Fiji game, and then I watched the last 10 minutes of Italy versus Australia. So, I can only go according to the highlights and according to, what I've been reading online about Australia and what Joe Schmidt has said, I don't know. Maybe this team there are too many games this year. Too many big games. Because they seem to have tapered off after that victory. So let's say after the tour against the Boks.
Yeah.
They were good against the Lions. Then they tore South Africa brilliantly. I mean, James O'Connor had his kicking boots on. They could have came down 2-0. They could have won both games. And then you're looking at, they played in New Zealand at Eden Park. They were okay. They were in a fight for about 60 minutes or so, and then they tapered off. And then they were horrible in Perth. Again, very poor against England. Struggled against Japan. So maybe, with this team that they have, we all say that Australia doesn't have the huge amount of depth. Maybe it's too many games this team has played. Maybe they should have looked into their tour, especially the end of year tour, and rather have 3 games instead of 5, what they're looking at. Yeah. I think for Australia, they need the money. So they're going to obviously play as many games as they can. But I mean, after this Lions series, 3 games against the Lions, they played against Fiji. So I think they played the most amount of test rugby this year. I think maybe it was just a few games too much. He isn't alternating his squad. His teams like he should have. He doesn't have the real players where, like the Boks or maybe France and New Zealand have, where they can go and put a B team out against Japan. It was always 4, 5, 6 of the teams, the regular team, squad of 23 in that team. So for me, it was always flirting with danger. Maybe this team is just in the red in terms of mileage, and also doesn't also help, that a guy like Schmidt is coming to the end of his coaching regime. Maybe it was time for them to have, they should have had Leskies go with him on tour. But unfortunately, the Reds and the Wallabies couldn't come to an agreement with, releasing Leskies, where the Reds want him to finish up Super Rugby.
Sorry, Jade. Actually, I was about to ask that question. Maybe it's also because of the fact that the coaches, this is his last basically campaign before the new coach comes in. And also on that, Jade, if you listen to his interview, again, it at this point, he didn't want to say it, but he's clearly blaming the players.
So, Puyo, interesting topic on that. You as a coach, you planned for your end of year tour. I mean, he was asked later on, and obviously the coaching team sits with Australian rugby. Like I know Rassie Erasmus sits with South African, with SA Rugby, and they decide, who they want to play against. They have the potential prospects of playing Italy, Ireland or so, and Rassie really goes in and gives it go ahead. It's not like SA Rugby comes down and says, listen, this week you play England, next week Ireland, then France, and then Scotland. They collectively decide on this. I don't think there was real prep, about with a guy like Joe Schmidt about this end of year tour, because they knew that he would just do it until the end of the Lions tour. And then after that, they said, okay, now he'll finish up after the Rugby Championship. And then he said, no, okay, I'll go on until the end of your tour. So I don't really think there was planning in terms of that, Rio. And I mean, you as a coach, you would also say, you as a head coach, you also want the decisions to be, you want to make that decision who you're going to play at the end of the year, and how many games you're going to play, because you know how many players you're going to use.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, 100%. I think someone in the office had already made those fixtures, and they'd already made the commitments to those fixtures. So by the time he said he's going to push till the end of the year, it was already too late. And he's probably sitting in the same position now and thinking exactly what you are saying, Jade, is that maybe they've played too much rugby, too much high-level rugby. Let's not too much rugby. Let's say too much high-level rugby this year. So for them, he's probably like I said, if you listen to his interview, he's basically talking about everything that the players I don't know what the players were doing or something like that. Like he even said we have to go look at the drawing board and see where we can fix. Yes, we obviously made a lot of mistakes. So for me, that says you are talking to the players. The players are the ones that he's blaming. But he's not. He also understands that maybe this is just too much for the players. Maybe it's just too much. So he also doesn't want to come out and say we've had too many competitive tests, because he can't come out and say that. Although he can, because he's done after this, but maybe he'll say it after the last tour.
Yeah, then he must play Fiji, he must play Samoa, he must play Tonga, and then add Wales into the end of the year tour. Then at least by then they can build from that perspective, and then Australia can have a winning culture again, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even Scoop, even if they decided to take, I mean, they've got an Australian A team that's playing. They've got an Australian A team that's playing. They've got the Australian team that's playing. For me, I would have rather said, let's mix the two squads, and then you can play as many games as you want. It's like you say, the 5 games, but you mix the squads, and you don't look at the results. You look at building, but also he can't be building because he's building for who?
Les Kiss.
Les Kiss hasn't selected his squad. So it's very tricky. It's a very tricky situation to be in. That's why I always said to mates and guys that I mentor is that once you decide that you're done with the job, don't continue, because the only thing it's gonna do, it's gonna drag, and you're gonna feel like you are having the worst time of your life, because you're, as much as you want to be as professional as you can as a coach, but when you see a player that maybe misses a tackle and that tackle results into something, in your mind, you don't even think about shouting at that player. You don't even think about being hard on the player, because you know you're done. You just say, oh, come on. Not this again. I promise you, this is the mentality you have.
So I'm picturing this.
Yeah. I promise you, when you are done with the job, just leave, just stop right there. Don't even think about being an interim, continuing, waiting for this period. No, when you're done with the job, and a lot of people always think about, but it's good money.
John Plumtree comes to mind now.
Yes. Oh, bro, imagine what's gonna happen. I promise you, if they lose 2 or 3 games going into the end of the year, this season is gonna feel very long.
Every week,
and you will still have 5 months.
Because they're playing Ireland next week. Australia.
Jesus. Oh, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Speaking of Australia, Ireland, so predictions for next week. So, Jade, Italy versus the Springboks.
The Box by 20 plus. I think the Box.
20 plus. I
Don't
mean,
I?
we saw what Italy could
20
do
plus.
in South Africa.
Box by 20 plus.
Oh, Vickers?
I think, look, I'm also tempted. Remember, I said plus 40. I'm tempted to go back there, but now I'm thinking maybe Russ is going to rest some of his players, some of his top players. Maybe he's going to make changes. So I also go with Jade, plus 15, plus 20.
Jade, England versus the All Blacks.
Oh, scoop. Scoop. Oh, this is a tough one. England are, I think, the best of the Northern Hemisphere teams at the moment. I think that's going to be a hell of a game. If the All Blacks can play for one game in 2025, just put an 80-minute performance on the field, they'll beat England. However, I don't think they're capable of doing it. I think England beats the All Blacks here. England by 6.
Wow. Vickers?
Yeah, it's a tough one to call, but I would also go less. I'll go England by 2, because like Jade said, if these guys could play one big game this year, it's this one. This is the one they need. But if they don't rock up like they did in that second half of against Scotland, if they do that, they don't rock up, it's going to be a hell of a day. And also, who's officiating that game?
Oh, Jesus. Let me check, actually.
The guy you spoke about in the beginning of the pod, that guy should stop, guys. That guy should go home and go be a teacher and coach PE. He's done. For me, he's done it right.
Oh man, it was a horror show, man. It was a horror show. Jade, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you something. Let's say the All Blacks win England. Let's say they beat England and they get the Grand Slam, right? Razor will take it as a massive success for the season, despite them being flat, despite them having so much questions being asked. There won't be much change, in terms of the coaching structure, where we know that they need a few guys in that back line, like we also said, even so a defensive coach to come in. But let's say England beat them, then it's an opportunity for New Zealand Rugby to go and review, and give Razor tools that he might not ask for, but he needs. So, certain games like this, losing might not be the worst result at the end of the day.
No, he has to win this game against England. I don't care. If he loses this game, I think Jamie Joseph must be knocking on that door in the New Zealand Rugby headquarters. He must really go knocking, and we need some change, because he cannot afford to lose this game. For me, Razor has to win this game. All Blacks by 5. If he doesn't, it must be tickets. Because, there's no time for this Mickey Mouse show of coddling, and because he wanted the job initially from 2023. He was selected from 2023, so he knew what was coming up. So now there's no point in coddling and saying, oh, this and this and that. No. He has to win this game on Saturday. There's no two ways about it. He has to beat England on Saturday as a New Zealand head coach. For me, I'm not even gonna mince my words about this one. And the referee is Andrea Piatti, so the Italian guy who was refereeing this. I think it was a second test between Australia and the British and Irish Lions, and there was that controversy about jumping over tackles and somebody getting knocked out on the head as well. So yeah, big test for him. This Saturday, definitely a big test, and is supported by some guys that I'm not even familiar with, actually, assistant referees. So he's basically gonna be on his own in the middle there.
Marius Jonker at TMO.
It's going to be a circus. At least this game I get to watch fully because we have a weekend off with the rugby. Then the last few games, we've got France, Fiji. I think that is pretty standard. Japan, Wales is a big one, actually. That should be the headline match for this weekend. I think it's a very big game. And then Argentina are playing Wales, actually, guys, in the next hour, by the way.
Yeah, tonight, yeah. They're playing Wales.
So Wales, Japan, Vickers?
I don't know, man. I want them to end this.
By a Papulan at the bottom of the table.
Yeah. But Japan did well against did they play, was it
Ireland?
Ireland.
Yeah, they did well against
the scoreline wasn't so big. Yeah, the scoreline was so big. I was surprised. I didn't watch the game.
Some people say Ireland were clunky, but I mean, it also credit Japan for playing well, guys. You know?
Yeah, 100%. No, I would go Wales, Japan. I would say Japan by 5.
Poor. Jade.
I'm feeling that Fiji might.
Yeah?
Fiji weren't bad yesterday against England. Fiji were not bad yesterday. They were just still disciplined. They gave England a run for their money. And watch, if Fiji done it before, it could be upset on the court next week. Fiji could beat France.
Fiji and France. Oh, we're talking Japan and Wales, man.
Yeah, and I'm just telling you, you skipped that game, Scoop. So I just want to give my 2 cents on this. Fiji weren't bad yesterday against England. So I think, you know what? Fiji can upset France. And Wales will beat.
If Fiji beats France, and then Northern Hemisphere is done, no more talk. We're back. We're actually back to regular programming, heritage, where we always travel up north. We beat all of the teams up north as a Southern Hemisphere. Then we travel. Australia's letting us down. Maybe we should swap Australia for Fiji next time. Okay, a big one. The big one on Saturday next week at 8 p.m. in the evening. Ireland against Australia. Vickers.
No, it's easy. Ireland are going to win the game. Australia is not in a good space. Yeah, Ireland.
They have to respond after losing, guys. Come on, Vickers, as a coach, you sit there and you say, guys, come on. We have to respond after losing to Italy. Surely it's a response type of setup for them. The motivation should be there automatically.
Yeah, you would hope so. You'd hope that that's the thing. But I mean, Joe's experienced enough. For me, I don't think they would benefit anything from training. So I would probably take the guys off it. No, I've done it, Scoop. I've done it. I've had worse tournaments and gone to a week and trained once that week and then win a tournament. So I think it's just it's just a way you stimulate the mind and the players. Also, remember the build up to any game is a long one. I mean, you're a coach yourself.
Yeah.
You know when you start those meetings on Monday, it's a drag on Monday. Tuesday, it's a training, and then maybe you're off Wednesday, and then Thursday, and then finally the captains, and then after the captains, you got the whole day. You wait. Kickoff is at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening. So a week of a game is a long week. So sometimes to stimulate the mind, you just give the guys off and you keep doing like small things, team building.
Fair.
Sometimes, sometimes back in the days, you would say because we were supposed to train on a Tuesday, we're not training, we're going out drinking, day drinking. Just because what else, guys? It's the end of the season it's the end of the season for these players. But at the end of the day, they'll still go back to their clubs. Yeah. So they'll still play for their clubs and be managed. But for you as a head coach, you're done with them. You're done. In fact, this is your last 2 weeks or 3 weeks with them. You don't want to make it miserable. You want to make it fun, so that also they go excited into the next phase of their careers.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think for players themselves, right, you probably want to do justice for your country, for the jersey, and also just for yourself personally. You know, I mean, how I would approach it, I think you mentioned a very good plan there, because in terms of stimulating the mind, I really would want them to kind of take ownership of this week, you know, as players, as leaders, and obviously obviously you do your planning, you watch your opponents, you watch what they're doing, you watch your lineouts, you watch your breakdown, you watch your scrums, you watch their launch attacks from lineout, launch attacks from scrums, etc., etc. But obviously you don't want to make it too tedious and too long after a very dismal performance. You just want them to take ownership and respond this weekend to kind of iron out whatever things that they need to fix for this weekend. You really want them to show up for their country and their nation. And obviously, if they beat Ireland, for example, everyone will forget about Italy, So that's the mentality you should kind of have going into this week as a coach, as a team, even if Joe Schmidt is his last couple of weeks. But, you need to approach it and fix it in that manner, I think. So I would want Australia to win. I'll say Australia by 1. Last minute try, last minute gasp. And yeah, because Ireland also aren't really that gel aren't really that great for the past 2 weeks. You would think after losing against All Blacks this weekend at home, they would put Japan away by at least 70 points, plus. But they couldn't. They were a bit clunky and struggled a bit as well, So they still have a problem at 10 for me. I think that's where Australia with Connor Gordon having a good game yesterday, maybe can build into his game this weekend against a much stronger opponent as well to kind of lead that team into lead that team basically as a quarterback for this weekend. Yeah, I think that's the end, gents, for this week's show. We've well over time, to be honest. But it's been a very good autumn series so far. And week 3, Italy versus South Africa, England versus New Zealand, Wales versus Japan, France versus Fiji, Ireland versus Australia, and Scotland versus Argentina. Can it be a whitewash from the Southern Hemisphere teams next weekend? We don't know. We're looking forward to next week. Thanks, Vickers. Thanks, Jade. Thanks to the listeners as well. Have a lovely Sunday. Enjoy Sunday roast, Jade. And then enjoy the rest of the week. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.